Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, comics we want to read, and everything in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. Today we are doing, we're continuing our celebration of Black History Month. We're doing the Marvel comic Deathlok, which I've never heard of before we kind of looked into this. It is a original character by Dwayne McDuffie, who we highlighted a lot last year because he's like one of the best and most well-known comic creators that is also African American. And so, with that, also this one also has Dennis Cohen, who is also one of the most well-known black artists and stuff in comics. So, this was an interesting book. There was a lot of potential in it, and I don't know. I don't know if this character ever really shows up more than this.
All I can say is, I had seen the look of the character before. And
I've seen this specific cover of number one.
Like he's wild looking, but I had no idea anything else about it. I had probably seen like a pop of him.
Right. And also the problem is his name, Deathlok, there's so many characters that have death in the front of their names. You got Deathstroke and Deathshot, and then you have Deathlok.
and then you have all the ones that are similar. Deadpool and
you got a lot of similar characters. Not that this character is similar to those as far as the character is concerned, but just it has the name is close enough that you will get it confused potentially. And then also, this first 4 issues I think that they were trying to push this because each issue. Which I found out when I'm like, hey, John, this will be a fast read. It's only 4 issues. Each issue is about 60 pages long. Yeah. So instead of being like, hey, it's 4 issues, it was like we read 16 comics, basically, instead of 4. So 12 comics.
Starting going through, I was like, oh, that's right. I remember this is the time frame where things are a little wordy.
Yeah, a little wordy, but no, it wasn't too bad.
No, not like it was. So I was never bored.
It wasn't Stan Lee.
There was some of it where I was...
Or early Chris Claremont. Remember when we read, what was that? What was the one we read? Not Weapon X, but what was it? Days of Future Past.
Future Past, yeah.
We were like, what is going on?
Yeah, and so much exposition and so much that only one issue was actually Days of Future Past.
Yes. But yeah, this one is from 1989. Is I guess when it originally started. It was originally in the anthology series, serial series, Marvel Comics Presents, and that is also where Weapon X came from as well. I also thought this was kind of Weapon X ish.
Yeah, definitely.
You could have had this be the backup. After Weapon X failed, they then switched to this project, and then created this thing, which actually is more machine than Wolverine was, so that makes kind of more sense or whatever. But
it had that feel, and I honestly was wondering because
he has a helmet and everything.
Yeah, and the initial the little one shot at the beginning of this,
yeah. Because it's the same comic. It's the same Marvel Comics Presents. So,
and that's the little beginning one shot of this. I half expected because one of the cover had the Wolverine and Scarlet Witch on, and I was like, oh, maybe we're gonna get maybe he becomes a more integral character, and I've just never heard and read any of it. Yeah.
I don't think so. As from what I know, there's only this and maybe one other story, a couple other stories, but it's not like he then folded into the Avengers or something. I don't know. This character, like I said, it's got a lot of what's it called? It's got a lot of promise. There you go. That's okay. There's a lot of things that could happen.
Yeah.
But at least from this trade, at least for me, the first 2 issues were yeah, and then the second 2 issues I was I don't care. Let's move forward.
Yeah. It kind of I liked it all overall. I feel
the book was good overall, but
the second 2 it kind of meanders more than the first 2.
Yeah.
As far as the main story, let's get into it.
Yeah, we'll get into it. So, first things first, the cover on this is fucking awesome.
Oh yeah,
Joe Jusko or Jusko, I don't know how you say his name, did the cover on this, and we got like a Carl Withers looking motherfucker from like Rocky 2,
Yeah.
where he's super buffed out and awesome, and he's like in some kind of pain, but he's flexing, and then there's like a cyborg body, and then you see the melding of the two bodies in like the cyborg Deathlok. And so we know already, like just from the cover, obviously he's a cyborg.
Yeah.
And the name of this trade is called The Living Nightmare of Michael Collins. So, and it's, like we said, it's written by Dwayne McDuffie and another guy named Gregory Wright, who I'd never really heard of. I don't recall that name from any other comics that I've read, but apparently they co-wrote this or co-created it. And then the pencils on this, you get Jackson Geiss, who I fucking loved. He did the first 2 issues. Then you had Dennis Cohen, who I love on other stuff, but I just felt like something just didn't click with this character or the way his sketchiness works in this. I don't know.
It became it felt the same way too. The first 2 were very like, oh, this is awesome comic art, and then the second 2 was kind of like, this kind of looks like sketches of a comic.
Yeah.
Not quite fully developed.
Not kind of finished, or
yeah.
I don't know.
It wasn't as polished for sure.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like
he's not like he doesn't have that polished look, and that's fine. Like he does The Question from the 80s, and that's like one of my favorite series, and it works for that character. I just think maybe because we started off with that like painted look, and then this character isn't as, he's not like a street level character because he's like a cyborg with guns and shit.
Exactly. So it feels like it should, like, all the pieces have to fit tight together technically.
Yeah.
He's a cyborg.
Yeah. And so like the sketchiness of it just didn't work for me on this character. But, you know, everybody, you know, it's subjective. Everybody's got their own mileage as far as they like the art in it. But just for me personally, when it switches over to Dennis Cohen, I was like, what happened? What happened to the art? But you got some really nice Sienkiewicz, Bill Sienkiewicz covers too. For almost every issue, there's like, I think he did it for this trade only, but he did like painted covers because him and Dennis Cohen always did the covers for, or he always did the covers for The Question. And so there's a lot of like crossover with him and Dennis Cohen helping each other out. So they work well together. So yeah, like we said, the first appearance, I guess, of Deathlok. I want to say Deathclock.
Yeah, every time Deathclock. So brutal.
Yeah. mermaid. Yeah. So yeah, the Deathlok is Marvel Comics Presents number 62. And so I don't know, that's around the same time from what I remember of Wolverine Weapon X. So this might be like in the same issue as that.
It's weird. I mean, it's almost like thinking about on it now. It's almost like it was like they kind of felt like maybe it could go that way because of some of the design, and then it became an afterthought. Like, nah, let's not do that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there was some butting of heads of. I don't know. But either way, so you have like at the same time, you know, Weapon X Wolverine, which is one of the greatest like Wolverine stories, where he's being manipulated and turned into somewhat of a cyborg by a scientist group. And then you have in the same pages the beginning of this other character by Dwayne McDuffie, who is Deathlok, who very much similar is getting, you know, cyborged out or whatever. So it's kind of interesting, and I thought, you know, they could definitely have those two be in a comic together, but you know, it was interesting. Anyway, we'll get into it. But okay, so this first issue, it's only 11 pages because it's just the 11 pages story that was in the one issue of Marvel Comics Presents, and it's just the origin of Deathlok. This was called Test Run, and basically in this, Michael Collins is not Deathlok,
not yet.
And so what it is this company, Cybertech, has built a cyborg weapon that is like mostly cyborg skeleton, and then there's like his face is half like a desiccated human's face, like a almost mummified human's face. Like obviously a dead
person
face.
yes.
Yeah, a dead person's face. And the other half is a cyborg with a big yellow eye with like a crosshairs on it or whatever.
Yeah.
And inside of this one is, I don't remember the dude's name.
It's
Colonel John Kelly.
Colonel John Kelly. It's basically like your perfect like not Steve Rogers, but because he's a super soldier, but your perfect soldier.
Regular soldier, yeah. You need him to follow orders, basically.
Exactly.
So this is the perfect jarhead soldier or whatever. Colonel John Kelly, he is the mind inside of that they have the brain they have put inside the cyborg body, and it's I don't know if they say whether the body is his as well.
No, just the brain is
Okay.
transplanted.
So the body is another person. So there's like three layers of shit going on here. There's a dead body cyborg, or there's a dead human cyborg body with a brain of a different person named Colonel John Kelly, and they're doing a test run for the government. They're showing like how badass this new cyborg is. And he's on this mission. He's got like a little helmet that kind of looks like Weapon X-ish. It's a little bit more not as cool looking, I would say. It's a little more dumbed down. It looks kind of just like a dome on top of his head. But like with that helmet, apparently he is also like it's like bulletproof and stuff. But also the helmet is where you get like the programming from the people watching or whatever. Yeah. So if you take the helmet off, you can like fight the programming, and it's just whatever's been already downloaded into the cyborg. But if you put the helmet on, they can upload new programming and stuff. So it's kind of like if you left your house with your iPod and it wasn't downloaded. If you guys remember iPods, you had downloaded music, but you couldn't stream anything, So there's no streaming in this. So nothing's hardwired. So this they say he's white specifically. This white guy, Kelly, his brain is inside this cyborg, and they're like, okay, let's do this thing. He's the ultimate war machine. We've downloaded the program. He's like not supposed to kill anybody. It's like like he has paintballs.
Yeah, everybody's got paintballs.
Yeah, everybody's got paintballs, and he's not supposed to kill anybody. And as he's doing his like maneuvers, the computer starts to take over, and the brain is like, no, wait, don't do that. And he's like, and the computer's like, no, we have to neutralize the threat. And then the computer's like, the brain is fighting it. So then it just kills the brain. It's like, I got to get rid of this other thing.
Yeah, it basically fries the brain.
Yeah, it just like electrocutes the brain because it wants to return fire, but the human brain is the like problem. It's not following the protocol that it thinks it should follow.
Yeah.
And so it fries the brain, kills the organic software, it calls it, and then, which I think is organic hardware because it's an actual brain.
It's physical.
But yeah, but whatever. And so, and then they're like, oh shit, and then the computer takes over and starts fucking murdering all the people in the test zone.
Yeah, the test of like one of the guys is like, we were just volunteers for this. What's happening?
Yeah, what the fuck? And they're like, he kills 12 guys out of 12 guys and then comes back and is like, yeah, mission accomplished. And they're like, well, it was a little setback, but I mean, you see what it can do. And so we should say like the main guy leading this is a dude named Riker, who's like in charge of cybertech, I guess.
Yeah.
And so, or at least this division of cybertech.
Yeah, and it's Riker, not Stryker, like in
X-Men.
X-Men.
Yeah, much different.
Yes.
It was much. Now that we're like saying this and it's in the same.
No. I just because the name is similar. I just didn't want to make sure people heard that specifically. It's Riker. Think like Riker, like Star Trek, not Stryker, like X-Men. As far as the name.
Right. And so at the end of this training thing, he's like running through, and then it's like detecting people behind glass or whatever, and it's like must kill people behind glass, and it kicks through the glass, and then Riker like says stop, and it like points the gun at him, and it stops, and then he like pulls a chip out of his wrist and puts a new chip in or whatever, and then he's like, all right, that's all for today, everybody. And so they're like, wow, that sounds great, even with the mess up, but like now you have to find a new transplant if we're gonna like put him into I guess
real situation.
Yeah, real situation. So they got to get a new brain. That's where we leave it in this Marvel Comics Presents, and that's where Deathlok book 1 of 4 starts with a beautiful, like I said, Joe Jusko cover. He looks just like Carl Weathers in this.
Yeah, he really does.
Obviously, they use that for the model, kind of. But yeah, so we see like right away they're taking out the old brain. They're like, oh my god, we got to find like someone new. This is like a company. Their name is like Roxxon Oil or something. It's like
So it's Cybertech is the main company that did this, and then Roxxon is the company that's in charge of it overall. And Roxxon is kind of like had some other things in the Marvel universe, like Roxxon. Like I think they had some stuff against the Stark Industries for a bit too.
Sure.
So
yeah, I think it's kind of like if you say like say GE, right?
Yeah.
And then GE's got a cybertech division.
Yeah.
And then that division has Riker as its head of this department, which Michael Collins works under, which is the programming.
Yeah.
So there's a couple layers of, management or whatever. So you get confused a little bit when you're like, wait, Roxxon is cybertech, is these people, is that okay? So, but basically, Michael Collins is just a computer programmer that works in this place.
A buff.
Oh, this guy, he works the fuck out. All right.
Yeah, like that's the reason I was really surprised he was just a computer programmer. And I mean, maybe further on in stories, like you find out a little more about him. But in this,
they never really say his past in this. You get his presence. So you see, he's like a really good dad. You see him and his wife have a really good relationship. Yeah. But like they could have added, like in the past, he went to Vietnam. Maybe that's why he's the way he is with his like beliefs about war and stuff. They don't say any of that.
Yeah, that's the one thing is he's such a good, upstanding, like morally centered man, and but again, it was just weird because like he looks like Carl Weathers in like Predator or Apollo Creed,
right?
And it's just like he looked like he could knock out a guy with one punch,
right?
But he's just a computer programmer.
But he also could knock out some programming in one day. All right. So
exactly.
Now that they're behind in their with the brain and everything, they're like, okay, we got to like get a new brain and then also have to like fix the programming fast. So get on that, Michael. And so like Michael Collins is like, fuck, I got to do that. Well, he doesn't say fuck because he's a very proper person, but he's like, I got to go, talk to my kid about, life. I gotta go talk to my wife and make sure she's okay with everything and our marriage is good. And then I'm gonna go to work. And
then I gotta go take care of all this. And it was cool because his relationship with his son was cool because it was like his son was playing a video game, and the son's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna like build this guy and he's gonna have some cool weapons and he's badass." And he's like, "Well, son, like the point of being a hero isn't always to like have the coolest weapons and kick ass. You also need to be like." A defensive person and like protect yourself and protect the ones you love.
He's like, you should just like power up your defensive stuff and beat the game like that.
Yeah.
Like that's fucking lame. It's like, come on.
No,
what video game do you do that in?
You don't.
You got to play games morally.
Like if you're playing Grand Theft Auto, you don't go and
never beat up old ladies.
No, and you don't actually Grand Theft Auto any cars.
Right.
You will get a job.
Start working 9 to 5 at a 7-Eleven. All right, and you work your way up.
That sounds like a fun game.
Yeah, yeah. It's called the Oregon Trail.
There you go.
So yeah, like basically, this dude is like Carl Weathers with Whitney Houston from the '80s and '90s as his wife, and like a perfect kid. He's great life. He's super buff. Everything. So what could go wrong, basically? And so he comes in to look at some programming that's been going on, and he kind of discovers in his
he like hacks a little bit more than he's supposed to.
He hacksers.
Yeah, I mean basically because they were like, work on this program, we need it done then there, and he's talking with one of his like coworker buddies there.
I think his name is Jim, right?
Yeah, Jim. Yeah. And he's like, why are they on our ass about this all of a sudden? I'm gonna do a little digging. So he's like digs a little bit further in the program, and he's like, wait a minute, we're working on weapon stuff.
He's like, I didn't know I was programming weapons. I'm like, what were you programming? like kill order to exit, it's like, well, yeah, obviously it's something. He was like, well, I thought terminate meant, I thought it was like terminate program, or I thought we were working on a computer game or something. Like the new Command and Conquer is coming out. That's what we're working on. So yeah, basically he digs a little too deep, and he's like, I'm going to go talk to my boss about this. He will understand that this is wrong. So he goes to talk to his boss, and he talks to his buddy Jim, that's like working with him, and he's like, look at this, look at this video we see, and he hacked into like the test video that we saw in the Marvel Comics Presents issue, and that's like where he sees this weapon. He's like, wait, this is what we've been working on? Like, I can't work on a weapons project like this, and especially like some weird cyborg where there's like a human brain inside of it. Like there's an extra level of morality for him, like crossing the line. So he can't take it. And basically, he's like, Jim, how could we do this? And Jim's like, well, everybody else knew about it. Like we all knew that this was the program. And he's like, how could you go along with it? He's like, I don't know, I'm just
9 to 5, man.
Yeah, it's a job, man. I didn't ask any questions. Don't ask, don't tell. I don't know.
And it's interesting. He goes home first. He's like, man, I'm going to tell my boss I'm going to quit if we don't stop this project, basically.
Yeah, and I'm like the head, so like they're going to have to listen to me. I'm the head of this
I'm
department.
the head programmer or whatever, so.
Yeah. So then he goes and, he goes home with his wife and he's like, I think I need to quit. What do you think, honey? Like, would you quit just for some moral reasons? She's like, yes.
She's like, yeah, you do what you do what your heart tells you to, sweetie. I 100% support it.
Yeah.
Again, perfect. They set it up. It's a perfect family. They support each other 100%. The kid's like, yeah, I love you, Dad. And he's like, yeah, I love you little knucklehead.
Yeah.
Be good.
Yeah, you little skip. And so, yeah, like basically the kid's good. The wife's good. He's good. He's like, you're right. And this is so important that I can't wait. I need to go back to work and I'm going to talk to Riker right now. And so he goes back to work and we see that Jim, his buddy, is testing out some kind of like, I don't know, death tank or whatever. Like it looks like the Death Star or something, but in tank form. And he's like, yeah, if we don't get the cyborg up, we could always just start my death tank up, the little project I've been building on the side. Like, I'm like, why would they give him a bunch of money to build this on the side if you're working on this cyber thing? But I guess,
you got to have multiple options.
Yeah, it's kind of like RoboCop where there's like the like T whatever robot that kills people on accident or the other guy's RoboCop program. It's like, well, RoboCop's working out better than the one that killed all the executives during the test. So, yeah, it's like that. So, I wish I could remember that robot's in TX-32 or something like that. I don't know.
I don't remember. It's been a while.
Yeah. But anyway, so he like Michael shows up to work and he's like, hey, I got to talk to you about this thing. Like, I can't handle it. I can't believe you guys are into these weapons. Like this I'm going to report this to like media and shit if you don't say no.
And Riker's like, you know what? Let's go up to my office and talk about this. You're right. Something doesn't feel right about this.
Yeah, and as like Michael Collins turns, he shoots him in the back with a tranquilizer,
yeah.
And then like Michael passes out and he's like, you dumb idiot. Like, and then he's like, get me Tracy on the phone. So he gets like the lab, I guess like the head surgeon or whatever that's needed to put brains into the to the cyborg.
I got our next volunteer.
Yeah. And so basically next volunteer starts we see they got someone is volunteering in this because they have already launched a missile that has Deathlok in it, and Deathlok lands into some country in South America.
It's called like Estrella.
Yeah, Estrella. I don't know if that's a real country or just a made up country, but Estrella, I don't know. It says it's translated from Portuguese. So it's probably somewhere in Brazil. Yeah. I don't know. So they send this missile. When the missile lands, who bursts out of it but Deathlok. And so Deathlok just starts killing all these resistance fighters that are around, like all these guerrillas and guerrilla fighters, not guerrilla.
Yeah, no, guerrilla war fighters.
Yeah. And so, and they're like, oh, proceeding nicely. We like this Deathlok. He's working out great. And we see it's like him showing it off again to the actual army this time, or the military. And so he's killing everybody. He's doing his job perfect. He's running anybody that's got a weapon. It's kind of like Predator. Anybody that's got a weapon, it's like assessing weapons, or whatever. And he's actually got his helmet on this time, so they're actually able to type in programming as he's like going. And then all of a sudden he's like shooting people, and we see like little word balloons pop up where he's like, where am I? What's going on?
Yeah.
Harlan shot me. And then when they're like, that's what's going on inside of his head, his brain, as the computer's doing this program.
Yeah, and this is where it starts to, and I like this because it's like you have the word bubble that's obviously the thought bubble.
His thought, yeah.
And then you have like the computer word bubble.
Yeah.
Of like whatever programming or like thing is going on.
Yeah, and the computer's like, at first it's like fully tactile, like full arms to, like just do everything, kill everybody. And then all of a sudden when he starts thinking, he's like, Harlan shot me. It's like error. And like program fault. He's like, oh my God, what's going on? Why am I here? And he's like murdering. He just sees his hands like murdering people as he's like running. And he's like,
oh my God, I'm doing this.
Yeah, he's like, I can't believe it. And then and he's like, I can see all this crazy shit I'm responsible for, but I can't stop it. And the program's like, located fault source organic software again. And then like it tries to zap his brain. It's like self-repairing, organic software. And basically, because he's so moral and has such good virtues or whatever, or values, he overpowers the computer. So like, he's shooting everybody as this is all going on, while him and his brain and the computer are kind of fighting each other.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, there's like a little, or I don't know if it's just a little girl, but like a young freedom fighter or whatever, and she like picks up a gun to shoot at him, and like the program sees it and is like, terminate, and he's like, no, you can't. And then he like stops. The program stops and it can't shoot the little girl. And then we see like, basically the general was like, well, that was great. Good job, because like they don't care about the little girl being killed. But Riker was like, why did the little girl live? Like, that's weird.
He shouldn't have let her live.
Yeah, so that's odd. And so like basically he realizes, hey, I stopped this computer from killing people. Maybe I can like take over or whatever. And so he's like, because he's also a programmer, he's like, maybe I can program from the inside of this. So he's like, computer, where are we? And then he's like, I'm going to like hack into this thing. So he's like, computer, open access to operating system. And the computer's like, access granted. Like, so he starts like hacking himself out of this place, basically. Like he's making himself or like his body, he's controlling his body.
Yeah, he's going to be aware of
this
all of how
one of my
works.
favorite things ever in early 90s stuff, when they didn't know what the internet was, or what like how to show inside of technology. Yeah. And they just show him, like a ghost version of him inside of like a transistor, or some
like wires.
Yeah, like there's microchips and shit with like wires to them, and they're going into his arms, and he's just like pulling and pushing and disconnecting and like rerouting.
Oh yeah, this is one of my favorite pages. I thought it was so cool. Like,
yeah, he's just walking along on these like wires and like traces and stuff. It's like that's what they thought, and they're like, "What's going on? The system's down," and they're like, "That's doesn't make sense," and then. And they're like, wait, what? And then all of a sudden, he bursts out and he's like, ah! And then like they're like, oh my God, the robot's broken free.
Yeah, so now he has like pretty much full control of Deathlok.
Yeah, and so like now he's just killing not killing everybody. He's like set everything to not kill, like non-lethal, and then like just starts breaking out of this place. And it's interesting, like you were saying, he's a computer nerd who is buff, but also he knows how to fight. Now, you could say that's his programming, but there are times when he's like, computer, take over. And the computer then does training crazy shit or whatever.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe we don't know, just because of how buff he is, maybe we don't know his full backstory.
Yeah, so maybe he has some like training we didn't know about. That's cool. They didn't go and do it in this 4-issue series. But the problem is, we don't know how far it goes, because I don't know how many other comics there are with Deathlok. So this is like a gold mine waiting to be mined, like.
Yeah, this is a character.
This is a very cool origin character, I thought, and I like it.
And like, and we're not saying come with our idea and like have it like connect to Weapon X.
Hey, well, last year when we suggested Milestone go back into print, they listened to us.
They did
it.
That's true.
So we should suggest, hey, Marvel, now that Milestone's back in print with DC and they have more black characters, how about you bring back Deathlok and, with some good, African-American writing, and have it kick some ass and give us a backstory.
Give us a backstory.
Yeah, because, like, I don't know, like he could be in Vietnam with the Punisher. He could do some cool shit,
Oh, man.
Like,
he could be with this. Oh, wait, never mind.
We could revamp him. You can revamp him because, like they do with the Punisher, like he hasn't been in Vietnam for a while. He was in Desert Storm, and then in Iraq now because it's been like
Yeah.
20 years since Iraq. So every time there's a new war, they just make that the war
that
the
one,
Punisher was in. And so they can do that. Like he gets blown up and then they, whatever, like, they can totally do his origin story different, but like in this new era and bring him back and do like a cool thing. But anyway, back to this main issue. So basically he gets out of this facility. He's on the run. But it's very cool. One of the things I like is like he, because it's him and the program inside of his head, like the computer, he like, there's a little back and forth.
He's the full conversation.
Yeah, he has a little back and forth, like full conversations where he's like, "Hey, I didn't know I could do that." And computer's like, "Yes, been able to do that for 3 months." And then like he's like, "Hey, now you tell me what I need to know." And it's like okay, well, like it's definitely, like it's kind of funny. It's like adds a bit of humor to it, which is kind of McDuffie's way. He definitely adds humor to things. And a lot of like serious stuff. Like we're talking about, this is like a black man and a black man's brain and a white man's body that's in a cyborg as well.
Yeah, very much of lots of layers.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers of this, and he could definitely, like you could go real serious or real dark with this if you wanted, because he is like, I mean, his face literally looks like a skeleton almost. It's got like skeleton with skin on it.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of like Tombstone. But.
Yes, yeah, from the animated Spider-Man series. Yeah, he's got like the no nose, like kind of like Morbius has that.
Yeah, or like Morbius.
Yeah. And so like he looks like Frankenstein, so you could definitely do like a dark gothic version of this.
Oh yeah,
that would be cool. But yeah, basically he busts out and he's like, the only thing I want to do is I got to see my wife, like she'll know what to do. So he goes to his house and like I don't know how he gets it, but somehow he gets an overcoat and a hat.
Yeah, like every character who's become some kind of quote unquote disformed finds a trench coat and a hat.
Swamp Thing, that's his go-to.
Swamp Thing, the Thing.
Yeah, it'll cover him. Yeah, totally.
Raphael when he wants to go out in public, and Ninja Turtles.
Their legs no one ever looks.
No one ever looks at your feet,
or like the back of your head or whatever. But yeah, so he's got like a fedora and a trench coat on, and he walks over to the house, and she's like, "Man, he like Michael. Like, I wonder where he's been. It's been like a while."
Oh no, she's sad because Riker called and was like, "Hey,
there was an accident.
There was an
Right.
accident."
That's right. Yeah. So that later on, she's like. Like where is Michael and he's been away for so long?
Yeah,
so, but yeah, Riker called that there was an accident and it's okay. Don't come here. You're not allowed to come. And see Michael, but like he's fine. Don't worry about it. Like we'll let him. Be back when we get a chance when he gets better. Yeah. So like she's not really worried, but but she's worried. Like
it's weird. He didn't say he died. He was just like there was an accident. But he's okay. You'll see him again.
Yeah, so like she's not freaking out because of it or whatever. But he rings the doorbell. She gets the door. He's like, she opens it and he's like, "Hello, Tracy." And she's like, "How do you know my name?" And he's like, "'Cause I'm your husband. And it's me, Michael." And she flips the fuck out. She's like, "Oh my God, you're some kind of monster." And the picture they show of him is very scary because she's looking up at him. And so she sees like his fucking open nostril passages or whatever. And like his skin is all gray. And
his big robot eye and then his like decaying, side
like
of his
face.
head.
Yeah. And so like basically she slams the door in his face and she's like, "Go away," and they listen.
Partner, our dogs.
You might be able to hear our dogs. They are fighting or playing or something. So pardon them if you hear their barking. But anyway, so yeah, she's freaking out, and he's like, "Ah!" And this is very much like similar to any other of these characters, like Swamp Thing or whatever. Anybody who's like becomes something else, they're like, "I am a monster now, and I must live in shame," and like my own wife thinks I'm a monster, kind of thing. So,
well, I mean, at first he's like, "I don't think I should live anymore." And he's like, first he's gonna like try to kill himself, and then he's like, "No," because then they'll just find my body and do the same thing. Yeah. So he's like, "Well, I have to destroy the whole body." So
you can't just kill the man.
Yeah.
So then he tries to like electrocute himself, and he's like, "Okay." But before I do this, I got to do one thing. I got to talk to my boy first. So this is another example of him going into the internet or whatever, or cyberspace.
Yeah, he goes into like a phone line.
Yeah, he literally walks down like a braided line into like an area that's got like, it looks like, you get the 3D graph paper look, and then like cyberspace numbers floating and
numbers floating.
timey-wimey, whateverness going on. And he's entering the program. And so we see his son is playing a game called Hero Quest, and it's like a jousting game. I don't know if it's on computer though. So, and of course, he's not taking his dad's advice. He had leveled up the heroes. Oh no, did he level up did he take his dad's advice? I can't remember if he leveled up or not. But basically, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna attack with an axe," and then like the computer says like, "Are you sure you don't want to use a defensive weapon?" And he's like, "What?" Like, and then basically there's a knight appears that looks like Deathlok but with his helmet on, and it's like, "Hold up a minute, knight. Like, you should not be killing anybody." And he's like, "What is this lame thing or whatever?" And basically he gives like a father, like life lesson where he's like, you have to, you should not like be fighting. You should not, like be for weapons and shit or whatever.
Yeah.
And,
or if you do, only for like defensive purposes.
yeah,
like,
basically Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah, if you want to be a hero, like you got to learn how to like be true to like
your values. You got to be moral and stuff. So basically, he says, if you want to win at this game, you've got to learn how to be a hero. And he's like, I will, Dad. Like, but he doesn't know he's talking to his dad. So he's just like, what's going on? Like, but he's like, I think the kid knows because he's like crying too. So like,
yeah, at least like it's weird that like his dad's mottos and stuff were coming through the game. So
yeah, and also he just heard his dad like got hurt. So he's like, what? What's going on?
What's going on?
Basically, he doesn't know what's going on. So yeah. Anyway, he's like, okay, like now that I've talked to my son, like I can't just kill myself. He's like, I basically just gave my son like this pep talk that was like you can be a hero, if you but you got to step up and do something. You got to stand for something, and like if I can't do that, like what kind of person am I? So I've got this new power of this cyborg body. I should I
have to figure out how to use it.
Yeah, figure out how to use it and help people.
For good.
So that's like the first issue. Then we got like the next one's called Jesus Saves, but it's actually like Jesus Saves, I think.
Yeah.
Because there's a character named Jesus. But basically, there's a robot vigilante. He's been fighting for a while now. I don't know, like a month or two probably. And basically this guy, Jesus, is like,
he's gonna get mugged in like an alley.
Yeah, and then like Deathlok saves him, and then he just kind of like hangs out with him. And he's like, I know a place we could hide and like stay underground or whatever. So this one kind of like this is where I was like, oh, the book's almost over, and I'm like, oh, I know this is only the second issue, so like that's weird. Why is this so long? But yeah, like basically he's got to hide while Riker is trying to find him. So he like hides with this dude named Jesus. And then Riker, he's like, okay, we got to find this dude. I'm going to bring in the big guns. I'm going to bring in Mainframe. And so there's this dude named Mainframe who's like the ultimate 90s like bad guy, I guess. He's got like,
he's got some sweet shades.
Yeah, he's got he wears sunglasses inside even when it's night.
But they're like tech glasses. Like it looks like he like can see and do things with them.
Sure.
Something like that. I don't know.
They got a rangefinder or whatever. And then, like, in the meantime, Riker shows up, and he shows up at Michael's house, and he's like, hey, I'm just checking in. Michael's still doing okay. He's still not able to talk to you or anything.
But there's this crazy cyborg that escaped that also thinks he's your husband.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on, but if you see any cyborgs, it's not Michael.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
She's like, okay, I haven't seen any cyborgs, because she knows that's what tips her. She's like, okay, something's definitely up.
Something's up. Wouldn't that tip you?
Yeah.
If a cyborg came to your house and you're like, what the fuck? And then the next day the boss of that guy, of your missing husband, comes in and says, hey, you haven't seen any cyborgs, have you? Because if you have, that's not your husband.
Definitely not your husband.
Definitely not. I did not turn your husband into a cyborg. Just letting you know. Possibly I've said too much. Forget that last part.
Yeah, scratch that last one.
Yeah.
It's almost like your husband. It's like we killed him
and put his brain inside of a cyborg.
Wait, scratch out.
Yeah. so yes. Oh, one thing I found kind of hard on this one is so the computer writing was one font in issue 1, then or like the computer talking in his brain. Then in issue 2, it changed to a different type of font that was much harder to read.
It was much harder to read.
I could not tell some words. I don't understand some of these words still. I just had to I think that's what they said.
From what he's doing, and
yeah, I figured it out. I think most of it, but a lot of them, it's a very I don't know the type of font. It is not a good font, and I don't know why they switched from the alien style writing on DOS or some shit to this weird sci-fi lettering or whatever. But it's a weird font.
It was a weird font,
and it was very hard to read. So this one took a little bit longer to read because of that font. But basically, in this,
he's basically powering down. And maybe it's because it's almost like a dream sequence because he's powering down.
Yeah.
While he's in hiding with Jesus, and then he has this I guess how he's gonna infiltrate. It starts off as how he's gonna infiltrate cybertech and I guess take things down, but then it quickly goes into a dream state too because there's flaming dead bodies and
and stuff. He's wait, I can't be doing this. I can't be a part of this and everything.
Yeah,
and that's where the font starts, which looks different than it had before. And maybe that's because he's in a dream state, but I mean, this was what it looked like for the rest of the comic too. So
yeah,
and it's him thinking about his kid and whatever, almost shooting that girl, and I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff in here that he's going through inside of his head, basically him becoming a monster. Is the computer going to eventually take over and him become a killer? Will they reprogram him? He can't let them get a hold of him, kind of thing. And so. As they're there, he's I need to go inside and I need to figure out how to get all the files on this thing so I can actually program it and know it's not gonna go bad on me, kind of thing. So he goes to his old buddy. He travels through cyberspace again, and he goes to his old buddy Jim, who had the tank from earlier, and he's hey Jim, I need a favor. It's me, Michael. I'm still alive. Come to
our favorite ride at. They're
Island.
guess the main place they meet is Coney Island. That's where he's hiding out too.
And he's what the fuck? Michael's dead. What the hell?
Yeah.
And so
one thing I want to say is I thought Jesus's character he's kind of sidekicky and he does do something a little bit later, but I thought because when they're hiding, he's oh man, you got some weird stuff down here, and I guess he makes creepy monsters and stuff for attractions and carnivals.
Yeah,
and stuff.
he makes those suits for the people that are on the sidewalks, taking photographs. And
yeah,
stuff.
or some. He also made some wire frames, and then looked like there was some classic style movie monsters, or whatever that you would have as a prop outside.
Right.
And I thought maybe that was gonna come into effect. Maybe he was gonna make a fake one of him and put him somewhere. I don't know. I thought that was gonna play a little more, but that nothing developed on that end, at least in this first book.
Yeah, not in this first book. And then, so Jim goes to meet him, and we see he's do you have the stuff? And basically we see what happens because Riker's watching everybody's moves and stuff, and we see that Jim snuck in, and this was interesting. There's lasers and shit guarding this place, and this other fatter. Less more out of shape.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely out of shape.
A computer programmer is able to break in through these lasers and shit and get through stuff and steal the file, and but he gets caught basically. They catch him after he gives the information to Deathlok, and then they track Deathlok to where he is on Coney Island. So then he's we got a mainframe. You go take him. And we'll deal with Jim later or whatever. So you don't see Jim for a while.
Yeah.
But he's being dealt with for sure. Because the next time you see him, he's in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So I assume they beat the fuck out of him and paralyzed him. Something bad happened. But and also he later on he's very angry and like not on Deathlok's side.
Deathlok side.
Yeah. So yeah, basically, you get a big fight at Coney Island between Deathlok and Mainframe and his like
Mainframe has like some goons that
cyber
are
suited.
Yeah,
dudes.
these guys are in like really big, some kind of like
mech suits,
almost like mech suits. Yeah,
they're pretty much mech suits. And like each one's got its own like one's got a flamethrower, one's got like
one's got
machine gun.
rockets, one's got yeah.
But basically, Deathlok is fighting them, but also trying to save everybody in this
Yeah, because they're doing it like at Coney Island, so there's like people walking around,
it's like a carnival,
rides and stuff.
Yeah, and so like he's like trying to save everybody, and he is doing it, and like the news shows up and shit, and they're like, what's going on? Look, there's a monster fighting cyber people or whatever, and like, look at that monster, and then like he ends up saving some people on like a roller coaster, and they're like, oh, he saved people. He's a hero monster. He's like
hero monster.
Yeah, he's Frankenstein the hero, and so. Yeah, basically, like it's just big old fight between him and Mainframe, and
they also have like some. I guess Mainframe also has some like robotic creatures that are from.
It's weird. It's not. It's not.
Cyber
it's
tech.
like they built. Like you had the tank going on.
Yeah.
Then there was like an underwater vehicle that looks like a jellyfish,
and then there's like some
or squid,
dragonfly looking kind of like.
There's a dragonfly plane in the Swamp Thing. So I was like, hey,
maybe, yeah.
You fucking stole that. But yeah, like basically it's like they're taking like animal cues for like some of their designs. Yeah, so they're like you get like a dragonfly airplane and like a squid or jellyfish style submarine, I guess you call it. And so like basically he's having to overcome each one of these new. Yeah, at first it's just the cyber guys, like the guys in the mech suits, and then he's taking them on, and then it's like, what's his face, Mainframe. He can control all these. He can control the mech suits, and he can control like the plane and the submarine just from his
his
mind.
glasses.
Yeah, from his glasses.
See, that's what his
I guess is why he has to have them on all the
time. He's got them sweet glasses.
You're right, John. It's the glasses. And so it's his Google Glass.
It is. Yeah, it's early Google Glass.
It's really early Google Glass. They look like like when you go to the eye doctor and you get your eyes dilated, and then you put those
the big
sunglasses. Yeah. They look like those, but Google Glass. So yeah, but basically, that's what this one's about. Like he just fights Mainframe, big fight. But like everybody sees him save people on the news, so they know that he's not a bad guy, and this vigilante is actually a good guy. And so it gets out that he's like a hero, and he ends up he's actually like about to get killed by Mainframe at the very end. And like you said, Jesus
picked up one of the like rifles, I guess, from one of the mechs was holding, and it's like pew pew, I'll help.
And he actually like hits the squid or whatever that was gonna kill.
It was gonna Deathlok. I guess Deathlok from behind. It was coming at him, so he's able to shoot at it, and he stops it.
He saves his life basically, and that's kind of like the end of this one. Like it just
the end, except Nick Fury.
Oh yeah, Nick Fury shows up
in this
at the end. Riker's at the the scene of the crime, looking around. And Nick Fury shows up and is like, I know you had something to do with this. And we'll get enough evidence one day to pin it on you.
Yeah. And so he's like, whatever, Fury. And this is original Nick Fury. This is old white Nick Fury.
This is Hasselhoff Fury.
Yeah, there you go. Hasselhoff Fury, not
Fury.
Sam Jackson Fury.
Yeah. So, white guy with an eye patch and a cigar. So, then like book 3, this is the one where it started to really lose me. I don't know how you felt about this, but like the first 2 issues were like, okay, like it felt like a full story.
No, it was a solid story, yeah.
And then and there was not like anything that really needed to happen afterwards.
No, that could have been it. It could have been like
this is the introduction of the character.
Yeah.
And technically that's 6 issues because it's 60 pages each issue.
And that's one of the things. Like that fight took a long time actually.
It was like 40 of the 60 pages was a giant fight.
There was a lot of fighting, so
yeah. But that is not the end of this book. Nope. So we'll kind of cruise through the rest of these because they aren't as important, but they don't really build his character too much. And I had a problem with this. Also, the art switches from Geis to Dennis Cohen. And like I said, Dennis Cohen, one of my favorite artists, but not for this. just didn't fit right after seeing Geiss's artwork. This just didn't do it for me. I don't know. But also, the first page you see that he did is very Venture Brothers. I thought it's a picture of Nick Fury, and he's wearing his uniform, but the way, like the up angle that the camera is facing at him is it just looks exactly like a Venture Brothers post, which is funny because like they basically copy, you know, like this whole setup with Shield and everything for like what's the Brock for Brock?
Or Brock's,
yeah, like you have like Brock is this, an ex-Shield agent kind of thing. So like because Black Widow's also kind of in it or whatever, you know. So yeah, but they're like the parody of them or whatever. So his uniform looks like a Venture Brothers design, which is weird because it I don't know, it became cartoony all of a sudden.
Kind of meta.
Yeah, exactly. But then like everything else is super sketchy in this. So, but basically this issue is now Deathlok is after that big fight. He's like, okay, they're looking for me. I'm going to Australia or Estrella down in Brazil.
I'm going to South America. Yeah,
I'm going to South America. I'm gonna like,
I'm gonna figure out what they were going after.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure out what they're going after, and I'm gonna fuck it up if I can. If it's something bad, I'm gonna fight with the rebels. So, the first half of this is him actually fighting the rebels because they think he's bad because he already came down there and killed
a whole bunch of them. Yeah.
So they're like, "Hey, you're the one that did all this shit a couple weeks ago or whatever," and now he's like, "No,
now I'm on your side.
I'm on your side now."
And
I
they're like,
swear.
"Why should we trust you?"
Yeah, and
then it's funny the way that they like. It's a really quick like he like is with like the daughter of the rebel leader.
Yeah,
and he like takes her in and they're like, "Why should we trust you?" And he's like, "Because I have a family too." And like he tells them like his story of kind of what happened, and they're like, "Okay, we can trust you."
You know what? I believe you. And you didn't shoot like my daughter yet or whatever. Like he had a gun to her head.
Yeah.
So like he was, you know, basically he's like, I hate Ruxin as much as you do, you know, like believe me. And they're like, okay, we believe you.
We believe you.
Yeah. And so this is a good speech. It was a good speech. And so now they're like, well, he can help us now because we saw him in action. We know he's a badass. So basically there's like a big dam.
Yeah. So they're clearing. So what their main thing is Roxxon is there clearing out rainforest
and building a dam and like drying out the land for where the river used to be.
Yeah.
So that they can then oil,
I guess,
drill or something?
oil and like and weapons development.
Weapons development. I don't know. So something like that. So they could conglomerate. I don't know.
Exactly. Take away natural resources and they're a big bad company.
Yes. And so they have these big ant
again
machines.
Yeah, more robots that are more machines that
animal
like
machines. Yeah, like Roxxon has built these like ant movers. Like instead of dump trucks, they're basically like ants that move anything. They can move ground. They can also like shoot lasers out of their face and shit. They can like move boxes if you need. That's how delicate their little pincers are.
Yeah.
Like if you whatever you need,
something tiny, or I can move a big boulder.
Giant rock, I can smash stuff, or you know whatever. So they like basically they're like, hey, there's a bunch of ants. They can fire at us, but we got to like basically we want to destroy this dam because we like they've been dried out. Like they don't have any water. These tribes or whatever these rebel they made it seem like they are the indigenous people, so they're like kind of like Native Americans, but they
had weapons and
they're like modernized.
Yeah.
But they also needed the water for like living.
Yeah.
Maybe they used to live like on boats and stuff or like off of fishing, and then they had to get militarized to fight. I don't know.
Everybody needs water.
Whatever. So do they? But yeah, so they all start fighting and they're going to destroy this dam. So that's basically the story is.
Yeah, that's what it is. And then it's him fighting these ant machines and like they're, blowing them up and.
Yeah. Oh, and we also get like this is what you see where you see Jim, his buddy Jim, who's got like black eyes and a fat lip, and you don't see it, but he's in a wheelchair and
he's missing an arm now too.
Yeah, and he's like that motherfucker. Like, man, what'd they do to him? Kind of thing. But he's actually running some of the ants like by computer with one hand. They still gave him a job. That's nice of them. Like they took his arm and his
They were like, he's a really good programmer. So
we'll leave his left hand. He'll have to learn how to type with just his left hand.
With just his left hand.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. But anyway, yeah, this is just about basically him taking out this dam with the rebels, and it goes well. They do take it out.
A lot of pages of fighting, and then
a lot of fighting. And this is where you get basically it's all him talking to the cyborg inside of him or the computer program, where and like you get a little back and forths. Like he says like, there's one thing that it always says, like it'll bring up something that he didn't know he could do. He's like, why you keep telling me these things like super late? Like could have known that way before. You know? Like, do you want to initiate high jump? He's like, I can high jump. Why didn't you tell me that before? Yeah. Or, kind of shit and stuff like that.
He's trying to get someone's attention. It's like, would you like to amplify your voice? It's like, yeah.
That would be great. I've been screaming for hours or whatever. So, but yeah, you see, basically he confronts his buddy Jim, who I guess was moved to, after they beat the fuck out of him, moved him to Brazil, I guess to run this thing. Yeah. So yeah, not only did he like get kicked out of his cushy office, now you get to run this dam project in Brazil.
Yeah.
So with broken back and no arm, have fun. And so he's still trying to find Riker after this, and so basically he finds out where Riker is. He goes to confront him, and right before he's about to kill him, he's like, "But wait, like I know." Or don't you want your body back? And it shows him like his body floating in a in a vat,
some kind of like medical tube or whatnot.
Yeah.
And Nick actually before he goes
he breaks in,
Nick Fury's like, hey, don't kill him because like we can pin all of this stuff on him. He's like, why do I care? I just want to kill him and like get
revenge,
revenge basically, which is funny because he's also like been like very moral.
Yeah, and that's where he says like, take off lethal just for Riker, like everybody else is non-lethal except Riker. So like you can kill Riker if you want computer, but like everybody else don't. But like the tank. Okay, so like Nick Fury shows up right as he's about to break into Cybertech, and he's got a tank, and this tank is basically completely lifted from Dark Knight Returns tank. Like to me, it very much resembled Dark Knight Returns.
I could see that. It was kind of cool because like
look at this shot. There's like a shot where like the gun is pointing down in it, and it's bigger than like I don't know, like it could fit 80 people inside of it.
Yeah, it wasn't visible at first though, because Nick Fury's like, do this for me, and Deathlok's like, why would I do that? He's like, I should just kill you, and he's like, nah, you're not gonna do that.
Yeah,
and then he's like, tank, unbecome, appear, and it's like, yeah, and it's huge, and it's like. The size of a gigantic building or something. Yeah.
So then Michael breaks in to Cybertech, and then when he's about to kill Riker, he sees his body in a vat, and Riker's like, I can put your brain back in.
You just got to do me a favor.
You just got to help me out. If you want to help me, if you want your body back.
Don't you want to be back with your family?
Yeah. So basically, he's like, I can make you human again. That's the end of the issue.
Bum, bum, bum.
And at this point, I was like, why did we have to do the whole Brazilian thing? Like, this issue could have been cool if it was just, like, the Nick Fury recruiting him, getting dirt on Riker, maybe.
Yeah. And, like, getting to Riker, that was still, like, 10, 15 pages of him, like, fighting through things in the building to, like, all the, like, security and stuff. So, like... There was still enough going on.
Yeah, so like I don't know. There was some like for me there was a lot of pacing issues with this, which is weird because usually Dwayne McDuffie's really tight and good on all this stuff.
But the only thing we got to factor is that Marvel thing because Marvel's like, no, you're going to do it our way too.
Yes, that's
so.
True.
That's the only thing I take to that is because
and it wasn't just him; it was the other guy as well. I don't remember his name, but yeah, the other writer, because it was him and another writer. So maybe the other writer took the second. Gregory Wright, yeah, there you go. And so yeah, maybe that's what happened. I don't know for sure. But basically, then issue 4 happens. I also felt the art dipped again in issue 4 because it was like maybe it was under a time frame now.
Yeah, and then like how it starts, that's one of the ones I was saying specifically is like, you have a cyborg guy, so it's like the man and the machine together, so it's got to be very tightly knit, like obviously together.
You want to see every like chink in the like metal or whatever, and how it bonds to the skin or whatever.
Yeah, and in this one, it's almost like as Deathlok was drawn, was like almost like a sketch had part of it because it didn't really look like polished.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, and there was much less detail in the faces and everything in the regular panels as well. So like not only just like the first page is like a full blown up shot, and then the rest of the pages just no detail. So I'm like, I wonder if he was under the gun or something. But
it's I mean that's true. It's possible as long as these are too. Maybe it's like
maybe it was hard.
I still need you to get this out.
Maybe that's why he had to step in, because the other guy was falling behind.
Oh, because of all much detail.
And he said, "Who could we use?" And he said, "Maybe Dennis. Dennis is fast." And Dennis did the first issue, and he had a little bit longer, so it looked better. And then he did this one, and he was just like, "Fuck it, whatever. We got to get this shit out." So the Marvel way. So yeah, but this one is like, basically, they go to Japan. I don't remember 100% why. It kind of seemed in a roundabout way. Basically, there's a guy who needs Riker. Riker's got to deal with him. His name is, I don't remember what his name is.
I feel bad because
there's two Japanese men. One is Shiro Yoshida, which is the character Sunfire from X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
And then he is working under another Japanese guy.
Starts with a Y. It's like
Yorimoto or something like that. I can't remember.
I feel bad.
We'll see it in a second. But basically, the older Japanese man is like, I am. Or there, is Yoritomo. That's what it was.
Yoritomo.
I was close. Yoritomo. Basically, Yoritomo is like, I have, like, while Japan has been not able to have an army since World War II because of America's like treaty they imposed on them since World War II. But he has secretly been building like a ninja army underneath, and he is like now using Riker to help him build like machinery and tanks and military,
and rockets and missiles.
Yeah, so they're trying to come up with a deal, and I believe Sunfire is like in incognito, where he's undercover.
Yeah,
so he's not actually like a bad guy in this. But Deathlok is like basically his bodyguard in this issue, like Riker's bodyguard, like. Riker is just like holding that body over his head, and he's like, just sit next to me, be my bodyguard, protect me for this whole deal.
And once it's done, you get your body back.
And like, he's not happy with that because basically this dude, this Yorimoto dude is gonna like start World War III because he's like, I want to bomb America. Like basically, I'll fuck those people.
We will have revenge.
Yeah. And I mean, like that's basically what's going on is. Yorimoto kind of like goes back on the deal and like tries to kill Riker, and Deathlok has to then defend him and protect him. So it's like a weird issue because he's got to like be his protector, but it's the guy that he's trying to like also
that he also wants dead.
Yeah, wants dead, and so it's a weird kind of mix of stuff. But basically, that's like the whole issue is that like there's more fighting, and back and forth. But
so it's kind of weird because Deathlok has to protect Riker because there's like an assassination attempt, and so Riker's like, "Hey, I want those like robot guys from before that Deathlok fought. I want them to go and kill Sunfire, Yorimoto." And so they go and kill him, and then that's when he's like, "Oh, I have powers. I'm Sunfire," because he's been in.
Oh yeah, that's a different guy. That's Sunfire's not Yorimoto. The old guy's Yorimoto. What is Sunfire's name? Shiro. Yeah. So they try to kill Shiro, and then
he's like and he turns on his mutant powers and he takes them out, and they're like, okay, so
so he reveals is like he was undercover, and anyway, it's like a weird convoluted story that I'm like, I don't understand why this is in this book. This seems like not like a story. Like why is this part of this? Like it doesn't really have anything to do, and it doesn't wrap up anything at the end either. Like basically, they think at the end that he's dead, that Deathlok dies. I mean, Deathlok has to fight like Sunfire and stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
But like at the end, he's in like the water, and and Nick Fury is arresting Riker, and then Deathlok shows up and is like, "No, you can't arrest him. I need him. He's gonna give me back my body, and then like so then him and Nick Fury have a deal that like he'll help out or whatever. But the main thing is Yorimoto launches a missile, which Deathlok is able to infiltrate with his computer.
He like jumps on the missile as it's going off, and then like he like goes into the circuitry of the missile and like deactivates it from the inside.
Which I don't know how he does that, because they don't show like his fingers having like connections or anything. Yeah. So he just like grabs onto the skin of the missile and it just shows like circuit boards.
He pulls off like a panel, I guess. But yeah, then somehow he deactivates the missile, and then as it crashes, it explodes.
It explodes and then he falls in the water, and they're like,
okay, he dead.
Yeah, but he's not dead. So then they're like, he was a good man, and then like, but you're under arrest, Riker. And then like Deathlock comes out, he's like, I'm still a good man. Or Deathlok comes out, he's like, I'm still a good man. And so then he's like, I got some business with Riker, and like, basically I'm not letting him go. And then like Nick Fury's like, okay, stand down, man, you can take him. And that's pretty much it. Like,
yeah, basically. Well, and it's weird because like I guess Nick Fury's like, well, hey, we could use a man. Like, and he's like, well, maybe I'll help you, but you have to do one thing for me. And so I guess while Deathlok's going to figure out how to get back in his body with Riker, how to force all of that on him, Nick Fury goes and sees his wife and is like, here's a letter from your husband. He's like working with us now. And
yeah, I'm the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm just going to reveal that to you. Like, we're like,
the secret organization.
Yeah, I'm a secret organization. So like, I'm the director of the secret organization you've never heard of. But just take my word for it.
Go ahead, yeah.
And your husband's working with us, and that's why you haven't seen him. And here's a letter from him, and it's like, Dear Tracy and Nick, his son.
I love you.
I'm safe and well. I love you both. Miss you more than I can say. Basically, he will return
someday. Yeah, I'll come back someday soon. Don't worry.
And every wife would be fine with that letter, and that's it.
Yeah, just take this letter and everything's fine, right?
Yeah, that's what my wife would like. Go track down, go get my guns and track down someone. But you will find him. Where the fuck is he? Yeah. So, and then it's just like him, kind of like Batman, just like looking over Coney Island on like a ledge, like this is where I'm at. Like I will track down, or one day I'll get my body back and like blah blah blah. But here I am now.
I guess Riker was basically like, I don't know how to put your brain back in, but we'll figure it out together.
Yeah. So. Whatever. They said they lost his body too. That was the other thing. He's like, well, your body's lost. Like,
oh, that's right.
Like they raided. Like that was what it was. Fury raided the facility, and they're like, we didn't see any body. And they're like, what? There was a body there. Like we saw it in the tank in issue 3. And so now they're like, well, the body's missing. So we got to like locate Doctor Who, who's the one that put in his brain in the body in the first place, and like maybe she knows where it is. So that's it. Like just leaves it right there hanging. I'm like, you could have left it hanging at issue 2, and it would have been better, I think, personally. But yeah, overall, an interesting character that I never would have picked up, probably, just because, like, he's not in anything else, and you never hear about him. So, what did you think about that, John? What did you think about this character?
I had fun.
This trade specifically, I guess.
Yeah, I had fun. I mean, like you said, I really did like the intro and how I liked his origin.
Yeah,
I liked how he's created.
Yeah, I thought
really
it was like cool origin, cool first 2 issues.
Yeah,
and then I just didn't give a fuck about him.
Him going to Brazil and Japan stuff was kind of like, okay, well, so like if
they were 1 issue, it would be okay.
Even the Brazil stuff wasn't as bad to me because it's still connected from him before. But then going to Japan, I was like, that's weird.
Yeah, what does this have to do with anything?
Yeah, like that. The bodyguard and like him having to go through that was a little. I feel like. Yeah, it could have ended like him like going to like finally getting to him after the Brazil stuff and then being like, well, maybe we'll put you back in your body if you like work for me. And then like that could be the end of it is like.
Yeah, it could have ended before.
Deathlok has to like work off, whatever to get back into his body.
Yeah, it just felt weird. And I don't know why the pacing was like that or why they added some of those things to this like, I don't know if these were like premiere issues, like those fat thick issues.
Maybe
they must have been, but then I saw they showed like the normal covers for this, and it wasn't like it looked like just regular covers. It wasn't like the Just Go fancy cover or anything. So I don't know. they were just big fat issues, and I guess they just needed to tell a story in each one. So, but yeah. So, what would you give this one, John?
So like I said, I had fun, and I wasn't really bored. I was confused for part of it, and like, why is this happening? But I wasn't really bored. I just was like, where is this going? Like,
Right.
I feel like Lord of the Rings here. I feel like this could have ended like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like I said, I had fun, and
They kept going back for secondsies. Yeah.
and the character is cool. Look, it was unique, and like I said, I liked his origin, and the art in the first 2 was really good. It, like you said, it went down, but it started off really good. I would probably put it in the middle. I'd probably say I'd give this one a 6.
A 6? Yeah, I'll give this one a 6 too. And like I said, the character has promise, and
Yeah.
if they brought this character back, you could do some fucking cool
Again-
stuff. Now that we know what cyberspace looks like,
Yeah,
in a better way, at least than they showed it. They should still draw. They would be amazing if they still drew
drew it like
cyberspace
that.
the same way. But now that we have like the internet and stuff and better technology, like he could like actually infiltrate phones and shit and like track people all across the world and satellites and shit.
Yeah.
You know, like you could do some cool storylines where he's like, you know, finds a big conspiracy with the conglomerates of the
yeah.
world. And
I
everything.
really do feel like Deathlok is a prime character to revamp and like
Yeah.
make badass again.
Yeah.
Like for real. Like I definitely could see it.
For sure. So like, I don't know, Marvel, get on that. You know,
Yeah, Marvel.
you know, step it up.
Yeah. Or give us a call. We'll shoot some ideas back and forth.
Yeah.
We'll get a good writer because obviously we're not going to write it. But
Yeah. I mean,
We'll get
not
Bendis.
not for free, at least.
no, I'm kidding.
No, Bendis,
Not
not
Bendis.
Bendis anymore.
Not Bendis
He's too
anymore,
wordy.
that's right.
He's too wordy.
That's true.
We'll
figure it out.
We'll get someone. We'll get Ed Brubaker.
There you go.
There you go. Solid. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 6. You're gonna give it a 6. Is there anything else you wanted to hit?
No, like you said, it was fun, and it was like you were saying, it was a character I probably wouldn't have like gone and searched this out on my own, but like now knowing it's a cool story. I would definitely be like, you want an interesting character that like you haven't really heard of, but is like unique. It's got a cool like intro.
Yeah.
Like pick this up and check it out.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if you're
really
looking
tough.
for like African American characters that are like original and stuff too.
Yeah.
So like
Exactly, and like that's one thing because a lot of time when you're like, oh, like cool, what's a cool, unique African American character that you know of, and like a lot of time people only name like 2 or 3, like oh Black Panther or like oh Cyborg or whatnot. But there's plenty others out there, obviously,
right.
and that's part of the reason we're doing this is we really want to highlight amazing Black writers, amazing Black characters that maybe you haven't heard of. Just,
Yeah, and artists.
yeah,
Yeah. So like, yeah, that was the other thing. Like when we like with Milestone, I was like, I had barely heard about this kind of Milestone stuff. And then last year we read Static, and I was like, oh, that was really good.
yeah. And Static was the only one I knew of.
Yeah,
From
and
that
then,
too, so that
so
was-
then, and this is kind of getting into what we're reading for next week. We're reading Icon this Black History Month for next week, and that's like basically it's kind of like Superman, but the story is way more interesting.
Way more and like a little messed up.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
So yeah, that's coming out. Or next week we're going to be reading Icon, the first trade of it, which just came back into print. So you should be able to find it anywhere if you want to read it beforehand, or if you just want us to spoil it and listen to it. So yeah, if you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can email us at planestrains.and-comicbooks, all one word, at gmail.com.
And don't forget about our Twitter, our YouTube for exclusive content. We've also got our Instagram. We're gonna be we're getting up there in subscribers now again. We might be running a contest here soon, so keep an eye out.
Yeah, might do some Comixology gift cards or
Yeah.
something. So, and also, if you guys feel so inclined, feel free to rate and review us on iTunes. See if we can get our profile up a little bit more. We would really appreciate that.
Definitely.
And I guess we'll see you guys next time.
On the next one.
Bye. Well, folks, hope you enjoyed that episode.
If you did and you'd like to follow us on social media, our Facebook is Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, and our Instagram is @Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, all one word.
And be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more recommendations to add to your weekly pull list.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.